Hey, this is me again. Welcome to my channel. It's complicated, just call me Kay. I'm pretty much sitting out the park. It's pretty much a beautiful day right now. I know from the last video I said I was going to talk a little bit about my spiritual journey. And I said I'm going to go ahead and before I do a lot of my chores and some errands and things of that nature, why I'm, I guess, focused and just, this kind of the sun is in my eye. Anyways, yeah, so I was going to talk about my spiritual journey, and I'm gonna go right in. I like to kind of discuss things that started. I'm gonna put my shades back on because I like to discuss things starting in childhood, because a lot of things that I'll probably discuss later on in the future probably won't understand until you understand my background from childhood up, because things as far as spiritually started since I was a small kid, and I didn't understand it at the time, and sometimes I had, as an adult, I had to, like recently, as I would say about 2 years ago, I had to look back at something that happened and like, oh, that's what happened, you know, because I was a kid and I really didn't understand. But anyways, I would say I didn't grow up, I wasn't born into religion. My religious background was Christianity, so I really can't explore and tell people about other religions. But as far as Christianity, far as, you know, all that, that's pretty much what I know. And I would say, but I was straight up a heathen. I was a straight up heathen as a kid. Not in the bad sense, but just I didn't know nothing about Jesus. I didn't know nothing about Christianity. Like, for example, we celebrated Easter, but all I knew about Easter was the dressing up, Easter rabbit. I wasn't worried about, you know, Jesus. I was worried about the coming of the Easter rabbit. I'm like, please, I'm going to be good tonight, because that Easter rabbit is going to run, be on this motorcycle. That's what my stepdad told me, if I remember correctly. My stepdad or my mom, that you get into bed, because if you want those Easter baskets, you better get into bed so the Easter bunny can get on this motorcycle, drop that Easter basket off that night while you sleep, and then the next morning you will have your Easter basket. And that's what I knew about. I didn't know nothing about no Jesus. I didn't know about I didn't know what a scripture was. That was not even in my head. A scripture, a chapter, a verse, none of that stuff. I wasn't going to church, period. Not even for the holidays I weren't going to church. So I was all about just, hey, when you say the purest form of atheism, I guess you could say I had that purest form of atheism as a kid. I didn't know nothing about religion as far as, you know, Jesus, Abraham, Muhammad, none of them people. So that was pretty much my spirituality as a kid. I would say when I was 10 years old, 11 years old, when I was starting in 6th grade, I believe, that's when we started going to church. My mom, she started working for somebody, helping this lady who's basically I guess she was partially blind and other things. And so she met this lady who through her job, I guess a home health aide or something, and she introduced her to the church and Jesus and all that stuff. So we started going to church, and honestly, I felt, before going to church, I felt like my life was the bomb, you know. My life was the bomb. After started going to church, I was just like, I still can't, I had some points that it was fun, as far as going to church, going out of town, singing in the choir, you know, meeting some friends and things like that. But overall, I'm just gonna be real. Church sucked because it's like I just went to church every day. It seemed like my whole personality had to change as far as wearing dresses every day. I feel like I didn't experience that transition from childhood to now you become a teenager. So as a teenager, you can start wearing a little bit of makeup. And I would say in the black community, makeup wasn't really, especially I would say in the 90s. From where I grew up in Texas. And to me, in my opinion, Texas is a really religious state. It's not really open like New Mexico, Arizona, California, and some places like New York, for example. It's really religious. But anyways, I really didn't experience that transition from a kid to now you become a teenager. So you understanding, now you're noticing boys more, you want to wear makeup, learning how to drive, go to dances, start participating in sports as far as, competitions and things of that nature, varsity type of sports. None of that. It seemed like it just went downhill from there. But anyways, I would say as a kid, before I get too sidetracked, before church, you know, like I said, I didn't really know anything about spirituality and so on and so forth. But not spirituality, just anything, religious or spiritual. And as a preteen, going into my teenage years, all the way through high school and, right before graduation, that's when I guess I guess the indoctrination started. So, of course, had to go to church every day, it seems, and no other life outside of church. And to me, that didn't seem right because I felt like I had more freedom in a sense. And then in church, I had more restrictions, and it seemed like, just learning scriptures, going to revivals, it was like, and if we didn't have church service, if we didn't have church service at our regular church, then we had to go to other churches that had like revivals or some other type of thing going on that week. It was just really, really, to me, I can't think of the word for it. Oppressive, I think you can say. Oppressive. It just felt really, really oppressive. And honestly, my beliefs is, I think, to me, religion, I feel like it's basically indoctrination. It's not really religion per se, but spirituality and all that. I feel like it's not really, from where I'm coming from, it's a spiritual person. It's just controlling the population, making sure people follow the rules and all this type of stuff. And depending on what denomination, more denominations have more control than my denomination, Kajik, which honestly I think that's pretty much a cult. And I always thought that's a cult. It was so funny, even though like 10 some years ago, I thought it was a cult back in 2008 or whatever. That's when I started really thinking it was a cult. And basically, I guess it started becoming more popular. It was like, from my perspective, it seemed like people were moving from Baptist or whatever. I'm basically in the black community. Now it's Kojic. Now you see all these celebrities and other people participating in the Kojic church. And I'm gonna do some more reading on that. But from what I've learned, just watching TV, watching PBS about the history of, I would say, the church, for example. I forgot the documentary that was on PBS, and just I guess it was talking about, it was like a series. I think it was like a more than one part series, and it was talking about for example, how the church influenced the black culture, how music, all this, basically whatever type of cultural reference influenced the black culture, So it seemed like the person who founded the Kojic, or I guess the Black Pentecostal Church, He just basically, he didn't do none of his, he didn't do any type of seminary or anything like that. I think it was a branch from the AME church or Methodist church. I don't remember if I remember the name of the documentary, not the documentary, but just pretty much a series, I guess, a documentary. I will post a name on here. It was pretty good. And so yeah, so it's just basically this man just branched off, or just like, I have my own belief system, you know, and I feel like he didn't learn about what the religion really was. And I'm not sure if he had some doings with Freemasonry or he was part of I'm gonna do some research on that. And what's so interesting now in my spiritual journey, I have more interest in learning the Bible, and not just becoming more religious, but just looking for the symbolisms, looking for the connecting all the dots and all that type of stuff because there's a lot of numerology in it as well. 3 3s. When you really pay attention and read the Bible, especially the New Testament, from what I remember, you get a lot of 3s in that. 7s, for example, 6, and from what I shout out to Princella, the Queen Maker, from her channel, the High Power Podcast. I listen to her. I'm pretty much an open book. I listen to a lot of people that seem like it makes sense. You know, a lot of stuff people probably think that it don't make sense to them, but based from a person who has studied the sciences and stuff in college, and I kind of was going through some of my own things like science. Like, for example, the Bible, did they say the author of confusion is the devil? So when I think of confusion, I think of conflicting information and things of that nature. And then I'm looking at some of the scriptures. I'm like, a lot of stuff is not based in science. So why would God, at least the God in the Bible, say that woman was born from a rib of a man, but yet never since the history of Earth a baby was born by a man, but baby's been born from women, you know? So I'm like, to me, my opinion is science is just basically questioning Earth, questioning nature, questioning, like, for example, gravity, people, just all that. So I would think that whatever is in the Bible will be backed up by science, because it's science. Who created Earth? They said God created Earth. So if God created Earth, I should just use some science and be able to back that up. And then on top of that, it seemed like you have to have these divine preachers and teachers who, preaching on the pulpit or whatever, preaching on the stand. I'm like, why in the world you seem like you have to have some type of divine knowledge when you read the Bible, but everybody else just seems to just don't get it because of all the conflicting information? That's confusion. Just tie all that stuff together and see what I'm saying. People who ain't ready ain't gonna get it and probably gonna be offended. Some people probably just be like, you got a point there. So I don't really believe in Christianity. I just think it's just to control the population, not just any religion. It's just control the population, make sure people is in line with what they believe. So, because I can go into that later. I got a whole nother topic that I can probably talk about. And then just to sum it up, why in the world there's so much going on in the world? And I'm in America, so even in America, why is there so much going on when I thought that Jesus said, if you just want to be the best person, your best representative, do right All you have to do is love. And spirituality, love is like the highest form of energy, highest form of vibration. And then I look at a lot of these Christians, whether they are politics and whatnot, they not operating in love, honey. So there's that. But anyways, growing up in Christianity, boy, I was like, I was like a Bible scholar. You know, they had a little contest. Like, for example, if you know, if you can say the books of the Bible, the New Testament, for example, the one who knows the most and get them right in the order will win a McDonald's, the irony, the McDonald's gift card. Mind you, we didn't really eat out growing up like that. So I was like, Hunty, let me go ahead and study this so I could get this gift card at McDonald's and get my little, I wasn't even really into Happy Meals. Give me one of those egg muffins, those sausage muffins, and I'm good to go. So you best believe I want a few of those. And you know, and I paid attention. I was interested. Like I said, I've always been interested in learning. And I will say, as far as, I guess, you know, I won't move too far ahead of myself right now, but I was always interested in type of occult stuff, like, not like I gotta learn the devil or whatever, but just I like to, like, stuff that people didn't really want to talk about, ghosts, possessions. And I guess in a sense, I guess going to church was part of that, you know. It's like, oh, you know, what's this? What is this? The Bible and all that? I guess in a sense that was kind of like occult knowledge, because like I said, I was a quote unquote heathen. I didn't go to church or whatever. I didn't know what church was, the Bible. I didn't know nothing about no KJV version of, I mean, nothing. So this was like, I was a blank slate when I first started church. So I'd be listening to the pastor and all that type of stuff, and I'm like, and I always had questions in the back of my mind, like, huh, that don't make sense. And for example, they be like, none of this stuff be in the Bible, like women have to wear dresses and all this type of stuff to show that you're a Christian. I'm like, hell, it seemed like back in the days the men were wearing dresses too, based on the stuff in the Bible. I mean, the men were literally wearing, the men and the women were wearing dresses. So I'm like, that did not make no fucking sense. And I'd be like, this is how I was thinking as a kid. And I'd be like, I'd be looking, I know some of these devilish people wearing dresses all the time. I knew bullies at school who were supposed to be these Christians, either going to Kojic or Baptist or whatever. I'm like, these people here are mean as a mother. Excuse my French. Mean as a mother. Helper. And I'm like, damn. And they wearing dresses, and everybody just know they Christian. And these same folks wonder why people think Christians are the biggest hypocrites. I like, put two to two together and see why. I mean, damn. So I knew that a lot of stuff that was in there, but I took some things in there that made sense to me. Just listen to some Bible studies. I mean, listening to some Bible, I guess, preachings or whatever. So, I ain't gonna lie, I was partially indoctrinated and things of that nature, because I felt like I had to in order to not go to hell. Because hunted, and that's another thing when I went to church. Like I said, it felt really oppressive. When I went to church, it's like, I'm like, as a kid, I'm like, I'm scared to death of going to hell. I'm like, oh my God, because all they preached about was fire and brimstone. Fire and brimstone. You're going to be there forever. I'm like, forever? I'm like, oh God, let me get myself straightened out. But at the same time, I'm like, but as I got older, I'm like, a lot of stuff wasn't making no sense. But they had me indoctrinated to the point, I'm like, I'm just scared to go to hell. So how to make a person scared, you just scared, fearful. And then that's another thing. when it comes to spirituality. And that's another thing as far as the Bible is contradicting. You say you shouldn't be fearful of God. You shouldn't be fearful, period. You shouldn't worry. But at the same time, you're indoctrinating people to be worrisome, to be fearful, because at the end of the day, nobody's here perfect. Nobody's perfect on this earth. And that's like, and they say you're born into sin. So it's like, and at the end, and then even if you quote unquote be saved, you're still not perfect. So I'm kind of like, so based with that doctrination, you're always gonna be fearful to death. And that's like, was that the goal that people are trying to preach in Christianity, to be fearful? Because at the end of the day, you say not to be fearful, but then you end up being fearful. So was that the main goal? It's just like, didn't make any sense to me. And so, yeah, so it was just a lot of contradictions and things of that nature. And, so, and then my purpose, my reason that my belief, we on this earth, we are, that's right, we are, I ain't gonna say sin, it's, to me, from my understanding right now, it's, what's your purpose on this earth? What's stuff that you have to learn to become a better person, to increase the vibration in this earth? It's a group, and it don't take one. It's not about just one person. It's about, in a sense, a team of people. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like everybody on this earth, from the youngest to the oldest, is part of Team Earth, in a sense. And basically, like in the Bible, I'm just gonna finish this. Like the Bible, where Jesus is in it, he just basically, he gave us game. It was about love. At the end of the day, love is the highest form of vibration. Love is understanding. Love is forgiving the person, because it's not only helping. It's not really about that person, forgiving them. It's about you and in your example, how you live. And other people can learn from you, their energy and things of that nature. So I'm probably gonna go farther to that later. But anyways, I feel like right now the earth is sick. And I believe that religion kind of contributed that, because and I will have to just say, when people think of patriarchy, well, many times the philosophy of patriarchy comes from religion. And you see all these wars going on. They talk about war a lot in the Bible. War, pillaging. So in a sense, yeah, we had a New Testament to talk about love when you talk about Jesus, but in a sense, indirectly, it's basically saying war is right. And that's why I believe that wars are happening, because it's basically giving people a get out of jail card. So that's really my belief on that. Just because you see war, it's like wars. People are like, the last days. I'm like, dude, war's been going on since forever. People really did not live on this planet and haven't had war. So that's why I say this planet is sick. It's pretty much sick. So I believe people that become spiritual, the real meaning of the sense, the less sick the planet will be. It'll start its healing process. So in order for this video not to be very long, that's pretty much I'm gonna say, and I can expound on that in a future videos. But yeah, so that was my, growing up, my first form of spirituality, quote unquote, was Christianity. And then when I graduated high school and went on ahead to college, mind you, I would just say my college I went to was TCU, Texas Christian University. And honestly, it wasn't one of the first colleges of my choice. I guess my first college of choice at the time was Texas University, I think Texas A&M. That was my first choice. Second choice was University of Texas in Austin. And then I guess TCU is like my third choice, just to add another choice in. And honestly, I never understood this for years until probably my 30s, what happened. Because I was kind of like, why in the world I applied for these colleges and I was accepted into all of these colleges. And then next thing you know, all the paperwork, like the financial aid paperwork, all the paperwork you normally get once you accepted. Only paperwork that I got was from TCU. And I always thought that was strange. I'm like, why in the world why all these other colleges accepted me? And I just stopped. Then I really thought about it, and I guess as I grew up and really understood what was really going on was the fact that excuse me, and remembering my mom, like I said in the previous video, I can't say she had narcissism, but she was very toxic and controlling. So TCU was the closest college, and it was a Christian college. Texas Christian University. So, and at that time, she didn't want me to go to that mailbox at all. Like, stay away from the mailbox. Did you go to the mailbox? Throughout this whole time. So she really wasn't thinking about my education to really be proud. It was just, I want to continue this control of her, because she already made up, meaning me, I already made my mind up about I'm going to college. She knew she couldn't stop me because it would look bad on her to stop her daughter from going to college, So it's like, at least I will determine what college she'll go to. And when I finally kind of clicked and said, hey, she did that. And that, to me, that was just really, I had so much resentment, because I'm like, how in the world? It's like you really didn't care about me and my dreams or my goals or anything. It was just basically about control. I need to control you. And even during college, she wasn't supportive at all. Financially, she was, matter of fact, the money I wanted, I think I explained in the last video, the money that I tried to earn for college, she basically took it away. And even when I was, finishing up my last college year, it was like, the money I made, it's like, it was just abusive. Just, you got your check today, well, I'm gonna drive you to the bank and you're gonna give me this. I think at one point she took my whole check, so she was zero supportive. And so I had so much resentment for the longest, because I wanted to go to Texas A&M really bad. It was like my college. I liked the sports team, the athletic team. I wasn't participating in sports, but I'm just like, this was my vibe, And it wasn't even far. All the colleges that I applied for were in Texas. And then out of all the colleges, TCU, I believe, was the most expensive. So now I was straddled with debt and things because of being, in a sense, forced to go to TCU. So I really didn't have a choice, in a sense, based on, and at the time as a kid, like I said, I grew up in the 90s. So I didn't have all this knowledge and stuff right now that I do now, and like other kids have now, about the things that parents can do, the toxic stuff. So, and then seeing how my mom acted, and then as far as home life, to me was dreadful. So I'm like, how in the world I'm seeing my mom have the quote-unquote Holy Spirit, dancing in church and all this type of stuff, and then she kind of raising hell at home. I was kind of like, something just not adding up. As a kid, that's what I was like, like, something just not adding up. I'm like, if you want, that's why people say nowadays a lot of Christians are nothing but hypocrisy, because you act one way in church. I'm reading the Bible, the same verses that you're reading, but you're not acting accordingly, because you say that the Bible is love and forgiveness, and I'm feeling the opposite. And people say, a lot of times people in the church basically say, don't judge, don't make a decision based off of your feelings or how you are treated. It's how they put it. To me, it's kind of like, it's really judgmental from them onto, I would say, for example, me. And it's not just me saying this. A lot of other people who went to church or former Christians, they like stop going, and people just kind of judge them as something is wrong with you. It's all about the personal. But it's like, to me, it's like a form of gaslighting, because it's like, okay, I can go to one church, for example, and I'm dealing with the judgmental attitudes, the cliques, the looking at me according to how I dress. So, for example, nines with the biggest hat and the nicest dress, I must be Christian. But if I go into that same church and I have pants on or just jeans because that's all I could afford, or I'm tired, or I don't feel like dressing up and putting all this makeup or whatever on, I'm not a good Christian, or I'm not a Christian at all. So you step away from that church, go to another church, and you basically experiencing the same type of stuff. And then it might be worse. You might have a pastor or a preacher hitting on you. You might, be rebuked or whatever, and you're like, what did I do wrong to be rebuked? And it's always like in some type of passive-aggressive type of way. It's not out of love. And then you go to another church, so instead of going to a different church, but it's like the Christians in the church will be like, well, it's you. It's not about what you see other people. But I'm like, there's a lot of people, no matter what church you go to. So that was always and it's a way of just keeping you in church, basically, keep you confused, keep you in church, because at the end of the day, it's just not making no sense to me. I'm not, you're not the happiest. You're seeing all this hypocrisy, going on, reading the same Bible, listening to the same type of sermons and all that type of stuff. And then on top of that, you're looking on TV, politics, the control of women, and that's another thing too. I never understood. It's like, and this is implied, first of all, in the Bible. I mean, read the Bible, read it like it's supposed to be. They mention men, not women. Only time they talk about women is we like some harlots or this, that, and the other. And it's like, it's always some type of negativity around it. And the only time it wasn't really negative, and in a sense it still was when they preached about the mother of Jesus, which, it was like, how in the world you have a baby without, a man? What's going on? You either lying or something. And the thing is with that, I can go more into it later, but it has been proven that women weren't capable of having babies without men. People probably say, that sounds crazy. Just do your research. Just do your studies. Some of this is scientific, but a lot of times they don't want to, in scientific journals, but they don't want to talk about it, because if it's talked about, that basically open people's eyes up, and then people really critically thinking. Like I said, if something happened, science can be behind it. Because who created this earth? We just study. Scientists are just studying God's creation. Point blank, period. Just studying God's creation. Questioning, studying. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's another topic too. But anyways, I forgot, it's called parthenogenesis or something, the name of it. So I gotta probably put that in the video too once I'm able to. But I think they had I think they had 2 births or couple of births recently of women who had pregnancies without the semen, or what they call the seed, which is not even true, but that's patriarchy philosophy, and that's from the Bible. Man's a seed. Adam, birth from that's not true. So yeah, anyways, I think I forgot what I was talking about, but yeah, it's just a whole bunch of hypocrisy and things, and it's confusion. So, and then on top of that, that made me really think religion was never bullshit, because you'll see people growing up, for example, acting one way, a certain way, and at the time I was still. I'm gonna say a story. Well, I'm gonna just stay in order. Not gonna go too ahead of myself. So, college. That's when I started really thinking. Like I said, I believe in something. That's why I don't really despise Christianity. That's when the start of my spirituality, because that's what made me start thinking, start questioning spirituality and religion, but especially spirituality. I felt like if I don't know how my life would have turned out if I just didn't go to church. Whether I probably wouldn't even thought about spirituality. I probably still would have, but it would have been a totally different route. But because I always question stuff, and then people, like I said, people gotta be open-minded, not just open-minded just to learn certain things that people said you shouldn't learn, but just open, just listening. Because one, I knew it was such thing as God, because I feel like the universe, in a sense, was listening to me. Like, for example, when I was in school, college, I think it was my freshman year, I was living in the dorms, or second year. I think it was my freshman year. And I was like 18 years old, 19. And I was really, really concerned about paying for school, because TCU cost a dime. It's expensive. And I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm be able to go to school, because I wasn't getting any support whatsoever, and I just didn't know. And mind you, at the time, I wasn't really outgoing or anything. I was quite really introverted. So it was just random day. Just walked out of my dorm room, and hi.
That's a spot in town right there.
Yeah. Cute little dog. And I just randomly started talking to this girl who was, I think she was like a junior or senior at the time, just talking. And I just started expressing myself. I'm like, I'm not sure I'm going to pay for college, because I don't have no money. I don't have no support or anything like that. Just randomly, like on this day, just randomly. And then it was like, right place, right time. And she told me about a full scholarship. I'm like, really? And mind you, scholarships are just not, it's not easy to get. And, it's just not easy to find. And especially without Google at the time and all this type of stuff, you had to really search for scholarships. So basically, she helped me. Basically, I was led to a full scholarship. They paid for my freshman year, and I think part of my second year in college, my sophomore year. It's just things of that nature. And then on top of that, it seemed like besides finding those resources, people probably could have said, yeah, that was just networking. Yeah, people network all the time, but people think it has to be something formal. People informally network, and it don't mean they will get what they want because they just talking to people and just get it. So it's like, in a sense, my prayers were always seemed to be answered in some type of form or fashion. and I always felt protected, or I found out, like, for example, when I was in my high school year, this was during that E. coli or salmonella breakout with one of the restaurants that everybody was getting sick in the 90s. And I got sick. I was part of I was playing the violin. I was a part of a violin competition. And basically took the bus from school, drove, got something to eat. Like within minutes, I was sick. Stuff was coming out from the top and from the bottom. You know, I was definitely sick. I just couldn't stay off the toilet. The toilet was my best friend that night. And I went to my teacher, God bless her. I can't think of her name. I'm not sure if she's still alive or not. She was my violin teacher, the one who gave me my violin because she recognized the talent that I had. And I think I was probably 6th grade. I forgot how old I was exactly. 6th grade, 7th grade, probably 11, 12, I don't know. I was embarrassed. And it was a few people that went to this contest too. And I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. You know, I'm like sick. I was embarrassed. I felt like I was smelling, all that stuff. I couldn't really concentrate or anything. So she told me, she was like, Clyde, she was like a coach. I don't care how you feel, you better go. And she didn't say it like this, but it was like, you better get out there and play. You better do the best you can and get back on. It's like I'm the quarterback of the team. You better get your butt up out of there, because you was representing our school and everything. So I did play. I was like, I'm playing, and at the same time I'm like, I hope nobody's smelling my ass or anything like that. But I end up, I think I was like 2nd chair or 3rd chair of that when they had formed I think, if I remember correctly, this was years ago, when they had to form the orchestra, like the best in the city or something like that, or best in the district. So I was like 2nd or 3rd chair, and that was when I was feeling like I was like, and I felt like, besides that, I felt like I could have died, or I could have been really, really sick and been sitting up in the hospital. But I felt like, you know, God, universe, divine, whoever, my spiritual protectors, they expelled that stuff out of my body. They like, no. And I think the next day I felt good. I think I still went to school the next day. So that was God, honey. And not saying I'm more special or whatever. I don't know. I can't explain everything that God does or whatever. But I'll just say God had me here for a mission, and I will probably I can explain that until I go farther. So basically, that was another thing that happened. Been protected from accidents, been protected from possibly getting killed in probably wars when I was in the military, because of things that just happened that I wasn't really planning. And then I was to move farther along, so I won't be a forever video about my testimonies. Hallelujah. Testimonies of God. Hallelujah. Thank you. Thank you. So, and then I would say right now, my oldest daughter, she the one that really was more in spirituality. She didn't believe in Christianity or anything, so she was already ahead of the game with, compared to me. But she was still young. She still was not really grounded per se. So I think it confused her more than got her. But she has her own journey in this world, this complicated world. So she told me like last year, she's like, Mama, I thought you was a witch. And when you really hear that from me, I'm like, really? Why would you think that? She like, Mama, you say you're gonna get some money, like I'm gonna get some money or whatever, and then like next thing you know, you got a check in the mail or something. It's like you just kept getting checks and these things would just happen. This what she was observing from me. And I wasn't thinking of it that way. I was thinking that, hey, based on the Bible, based on some stuff I just took literally. Maybe some of the people who was Christians didn't really take it literally. I'm like, I'm gonna get a check in the mail. I'm gonna get some money, because at one point I did. I think I'm trying to think. I lost my job during that time or something, and I was like, I need some money. It seemed like God just kept blessing me, or from what I felt, God could have been just a universe. I'm like, I need some money. I need to help pay some bills. But the difference is, I knew in my heart of hearts, based on the things that happened in my past, that I'm gonna be blessed. I'm gonna figure this out. So it wasn't really fear based. It wasn't fear based at all. It was, yeah, things are happening, but I know in my heart of hearts, in my stomach, in my gut, that something gonna come through. Things will happen, and it did. And that's pretty much what helped me. What really will help me get started on my business. Say, you know what? Let's bet on myself and start on my business. Like I said, I feel like a lot of things, yes, in a sense, when I think of religion, it's like fear-based. So if you're fearful, it's gonna seep through the rest of other parts of your life, that fear, pretty much indirectly or inherently. So that's some of the things that happen spiritually. But so back to college, it seemed like I always felt different, and that's one of the things that really kind of kept me from really being fully indoctrinated. Was I'm like, this is not me. I'm like, why I have to dress this way? I want to be my full self, my full person. I don't want to feel fake just to be able to be this Christian. And then I thought a lot of them were hypocrites anyway, because you preach one thing and you're doing another thing. You have the quote unquote Holy Spirit, which in the religious sense, at least Kojic, that's like the highest form of religion. Like, you are saved, you have a first class ticket to heaven, but then you raising hell at home. That just did not make no sense to me. And then so basically I just kind of started drawing myself away, and I kind of started noticing, like, I think the universe will basically, I'll be listening, and then something will just kind of, I would say, zoom in or focus in. Like the verse, I can't tell you the verse or whatever, when they say God is love, that was like my light bulb moment right there. I don't know why, I can't explain why now, I don't remember, but that was like just like, you know what, I think that was like part of me, part of my, I guess you can say, in the sense, backsliding away from Christianity. Yeah, the irony of that statement was love. So basically, I just like, you know what? I'm not gonna be a Christian. I'll just be a Christ follower. And then my thing is, in spirituality, from my understanding, and I'm still learning this. I feel like I'm still new as far as learning what spirituality really is. But I was being spiritual for God knows how long, if that makes any sense. So I just like, you know what, I'm not a Christian. I don't proclaim to be Christian. Even before my last spiritual awakening, I was like, I'm not a Christian. I'm just going to follow the beliefs of Jesus Christ, which is, in a sense, part of spirituality, you know, just following a certain belief of a person. Like, I guess I can say I was a disciple of Christ, you know, in a literal sense, like the disciples in the Bible. So I was just like, I'm just going to base everything on love. Love. Was I perfect? No, because I didn't know everything about spirituality. So I stopped whooping my kids, like, or spankings, or whatever you want to call it. And that stopped a long time ago. They were like, my oldest was like, basically, she didn't really experience whoopings or whatever, because that's how I grew up. This is what I was indoctrinated by in the church, indoctrinated by family life, just didn't know better. You know, even though I knew the family was toxic, but at the same time, how in the world you gonna get something from you that you don't have within yourself? You know what I'm saying? You gotta replace that. So I felt like, in a sense, I based my relationship with my kids and my parenting skills based on love, and I still to this day. Will people agree with it? That some people probably call it soft parenting or whatever. A lot of people probably won't, but you know, at the end of the day, that's pretty much what I base my parenting off of. And so yeah, I just basically became just based off of love. I'm a Christ follower. I follow the main teaching God said was love. And I would say another thing as far as helped me was getting counseling and stuff. So I started learning boundaries. But I would say I totally got it to the point that it sticks is when I became a spiritualist. And that's when, because as Christianity, because like I said, it could be any religion, but I can only go by my experiences unless I study other interview other people from other religions and get their backgrounds. But we didn't learn about boundaries. It was like, and then when things were taught on a more, I would say, day-to-day type of life instead of more of a Christian life, just life in basic, it was like boundaries weren't, it was like an implied or rule or unspoken rule that you shouldn't believe in boundaries. It was an unspoken rule that you shouldn't practice self-love. It was an unspoken rule that basically just whatever that's good. I would say it was an unspoken rule to even not even get counseling. Sometimes that was a spoken rule. Just pray to God and all that type of stuff. So basically, getting counseling and all that stuff, self-love, boundaries, was like a no-go. But anyways, so basically I just kind of became a Christ follower. But still, I was of the world and in the world. So fast forward, I eventually stopped going to church and things of that nature. Yes, I dip and dab in church, just basically because I still believe there was a higher power, but didn't know what the higher power truly was, in a sense. So I was like, I'm just gonna stick with this Jesus guy because that's all I know. Just like all I knew at the time as a kid was I didn't know nothing about spirituality or religion as a kid. So I'm kind of in a sense, but didn't know nothing else. I was that kid again in a sense. When I think about spirituality, didn't know nothing about spirituality. And then of course a church like I said, some things in spirituality I believe if in the purest sense is good, but I feel like some people, some groups got their twisted form of spirituality. So like for example, I knew about Ouija boards. I never got into it, and I think, like I said, God used real life angels on earth to help protect you, because I remember when I was in middle school, I think 7th grade, I didn't have a lot of friends. I went from living a middle class experience, went to a great school. I was eating fucking cordon bleu for lunch at school, and had one of the best educations, and I was considered smart. And that's another thing. I wasn't just this delusional person. I'm a Capricorn. It's like, give me some facts. But at the same time, I still knew in my heart that it was a higher power, So I went from that, and I would say in a sense semi-popular, because even if I wasn't really trying to make friends, I was still myself, and kids and teachers were drawn to that light. And then I went from there to, like, I guess the movie Welcome to the Jungle. Kids were just acting crazy. Went to a different school, kids acting crazy, gangs and all that stuff was going on. Dirty, not the best education. I was like, what the hell did I just get into? What do y'all do? Help. So of course I was more in my shell and things at that time. And the school was segregated in the 90s. People say segregation ended in the 60s. No, it was still going on strong in the freaking 90s. They had once. I went to this middle school where this is like the first middle school that after that glorious experience that the they had first floor, second floor. The kids on the second floor were like inner city kids, or AKA black, mostly, people of color, were, and then not the best education. It's like dirty, it was just, think of the bad parts of New York, I would say. In the bad parts of New York, you just in the jungle, baby. The second floor, bright, because it was like one day I just like, let me sneak up there. Let me sneak up it was like a forbidden place to go to. It was like, let me sneak up to go to the second floor. Nobody's looking. Let me go up. And I just like went to the second floor and I'm like, oh my God. It was like, I was clean, light, looked it prettier. I was like, oh my God. And then you seen some of the kids from on the second floor. It seemed like it was like automatic. It was like known without really being told. They got a better education. Their buses, this was in the 90s. The buses, they had like the newer buses. The kids on the second floor had the older buses, busing our asses back and forth to school. And then the kids, you saw they were mostly, white kids, and they had like some black kids, but you could tell they were from money. And I'm like, oh my God, why y'all, I'm just like, that's not fair. And then another reason why I knew it was different, when I first started at school, they didn't want my black ass to go to be a part of that magnet program, quote unquote, even though I probably would have outdid all those kids and did better, because I was going to one of the top schools. Like I said, I was eating, that was my first experience eating fancy food. And this was a public school. Those schools were public schools. So I was eating chicken Gordon Bleu that I'm like, y'all didn't want me to go to y'all janky magnet school. And that kind of hurt me as a kid. Because as a kid, you basically looking for that outside validation. And it's like, how in the world I'm making like straight A's and this and that and the other, and I have teachers like just having me to tutor other kids in math and science. And it was just, and then my mom, she really didn't fight for it. She was just like, okay, well, it's my daughter. So I became really introverted and all that type of stuff. And really quiet, stayed to myself, because I was like a fish out of water. So, but anyways, back to the story. I had one friend, I still remember her, she was a Vietnamese girl, and I'm assuming her parents taught her about, feng shui, occult type of stuff, things that you shouldn't get yourself into. So one day, I guess we weren't really doing nothing. I'm not sure if we had a substitute teacher or not. I forgot, but I remember this particularly. So of course, hey, I didn't know nothing about all that. I just started going to church. So, yeah, I was a heathen. I was like, dang, I didn't know nothing about church. The Easter bunny was like my savior, because that's who gave me the Easter baskets. this Easter bunny. But anyways, so they had a Ouija board, and I was like, oh, I'm going there with the other kids. My friend quickly stopped me. Oh, no. I'm like, why? She like, no, you don't need to be playing with no Ouija board. Or you don't need, it's like, oh, don't go in there. She didn't really explain herself. And something in my gut at the time was like, I could have been like, you can't tell me to not do this or whatever. But at the time, it seemed like I knew, inherently knew that that's something you shouldn't play with. Because that's kind of the energy I felt from her. And it was something bad. I didn't learn nothing about I didn't know nothing about all that type of stuff. So I just, hey, I believe you. I didn't know nothing about it. It already sounded and felt dark in my spirit. But as a kid, no real spirituality or religious background, I just didn't know. So I trusted her. I said the way she felt and sounded like you better not mess with that. So I didn't. So it was like God's way of protection. So I won't have nothing attached to me. And so from that, so basically, I feel like I always been protected in a sense too. And then fast forward, I kind of like became a Christ follower instead of a Christian. Even if I go to a doctor and they tell me if I'm a Christian or not, I say no. I didn't put nothing, but in the back of my mind, I'm like, I just follow Christ. And this doctrine is love, point blank, period. That's what I knew. So, my spiritual awakening, I knew something was kind of going on because, like I said, I'm college educated, facts based. I always in my heart, I knew something was high power. I don't care. I could have easily went down the atheist route and said, well, such and such, this can't be proven. This can't be proven. But for some reason, I'm like, based on my experiences, there was no other explanation for them, so I like it has to be a higher power. And another thing, yes, science explains stuff. I can explain this, I can explain that. But still, how in the world the universe know to create the earth? I mean, it just seems too perfect. Everything aligns with one another, it aligns with my body, it aligns with people's. It's just, everything is working in tandem with, or whatever, in tandem with each other. People, animals, world, water, ocean. So it's like, it's just too perfect just to be like it's science and therefore it just happened. So I was, basically, I would say it really happened. Like I said, the veil is thinning. I could totally believe that. So basically, pandemic started. Stayed at home. One, I already had an innate feeling I was protected, but I still believed in science and stuff. So I didn't have a problem taking the vaccine, and when it came out, I ain't that type of stuff. And then on top of that, I wasn't listening to any spiritual type of things or whatever, but I listened to a lot of crazies and heard a lot of crazies, especially Christians or people's spirituality or whatever, I don't know. And I'm like, these people dying like flies. And I'm like, it just didn't make no sense to me. So, and at the time, I just noticed that everybody, it was a fearful moment. I can go back into all that later as far as spirituality in general, but this is my story going up to my spiritual awakening, my spirituality. So basically, I used to watch stuff like The Walking Dead, gore. I never really liked the horror movies, but I always was drawn to more, what they call it, like paranormal, more, what do you call it? I guess psychological thrillers and things of that nature, mysteries, all that. I was always drawn to those. But I would say in particular, in 2020, when they had a lot of, like, for example, the TV show Squid Games, I couldn't watch that. It was like, for some reason, I couldn't watch it. It just seemed too real. And my kids, they were watching it, and everybody was talking about it. I'm like, it seemed like this is too real. It's just like I was always an empath, but it seemed like it was more personal. I put it that way. I'm like, I can't watch this. And I even tried to sit down and watch it, and it just felt so painful. I wanted to cry. I'm like, no, I can't watch it. Mind you, a few years back, I was a big fan of, like, The Walking Dead, what's the other show that was popular? Breaking Bad, all those type of shows. I mean, it was like, I still was sensitive with those, but at the same time, I was able to kind of compartmentalize it. I was able to listen to any kind of music. I still had some morals about some stuff, like, I don't listen to no Sexy Red and all that type of music. I wasn't really listening to, like, Nicki Minaj or anything like that, but some songs I did, some songs I had my boundaries there. But I'm just like, I couldn't, it seemed like I just couldn't. And I noticed I was starting to, and I noticed from, I would say 2014, not 2014, 2018, I think I kind of had like mini spiritual awakenings when I slowly stopped. And this wasn't intentional. Facebook was more intentional psychologically because I felt like it was always about comparisons and stuff. And that's another thing. I would say if you're a spiritualist, a lot of times your ego goes away. You don't have like an ego. It's all about others. Christianity or whatever else, it's in the end, it's about ego. It's about ego, impressing other people, what other people think about you, and all this type of stuff. Spirituality is like, no, I am who I am. I say who I am, and this it. If I don't have to draw around in this, I don't have to. I'm gonna do exactly what I like. It's not about what people like. For example, success. People got their definitions of success. I'm like, that's more ego driven. There's nothing wrong. If you want to, heck, I got a particular vehicle I want, and it's not really about, it's like, I want this, that's what I like, but if you're mainly doing it for people, like just keeping up with Joneses, that's pretty much ego. How you dress, how you talk, and that's, this, that, and the other. But anyways, that's the difference between, one major difference I noticed. But with this point in my life, it's like I slowly stopped. I went off of Facebook. Boom. I've been on Facebook for years. I'm on it now for my own business, but posting personal stuff, no. Like, look at my kid making these grades. Look at me. I'm looking this certain way today. I'm on vacation. No. And I really don't care, to be honest. And then Instagram, I just really never got into because I'm like, I just I didn't see myself at the time just posting pictures of my food. I'm busy. I'm a single mom. I'm a career person. I'm too busy. I just didn't see myself. I didn't have the energy, motivation to do that. Twitter, I was on Twitter at one point. I was more of a lurker at one point. Then it became my tribe. I'm like, these people are real. I love Twitter. They were real. They were like, hey, help your feelings. That's what I say. The realness about it. Compared to Facebook, I was like, I love Twitter. So I was on there. I went viral probably once or twice on Twitter. Watched TV shows and was, and on Twitter at the same time. I slowly stopped Twitter. And I was gaining a following. I even had like a couple of people before they were giving away blue checks on Twitter now, or X as they call it. I had people following me that were well known or whatever on Twitter, just lurking and just listening. I closed my account because of political reasons at the time. And mind you, I'm not a political person no more. I learned. That's another thing about this process from childhood on. I think all this was, I don't believe in coincidences. Happenstance. And yeah, it can be called happenstance, but when you look back, it really wasn't. So I just learned a lot, and I can pull, and I just call wisdom just based on learning and stuff, and just thinking about things and how that was part of your life, part of your journey, part of your spirituality, hell, part of your religion, if you can want to say that. So I stopped. So basically, I would say I just basically, in a sense, I became a hermit, in a sense. I stopped watching TV. Like last year, I would say I stopped watching TV, or starting in 2022. It's like it went from a person who was basically pop culture, fashion, social media, all that I was part of, and then I just like cold turkey and the funny part about it, it wasn't intentional in a sense. I didn't just make a decision one day to say I'm not watching TV. It just just lost interest. Not because of depression or anything like that. I just lost interest. Like certain TV shows, I used to be a big fan of the Travel Channel, aka the Paranormal Channel, because I always had interest in that. And that's probably another part 3 of my story of this. And I have a lot to talk about on that one too. They can make this video about an hour long, or the next video an hour long. So I just stopped, and I couldn't watch those because I felt like I kind of really, the sense of that energy was strong. I stopped watching that. I can't watch that no more. So I stopped watching that. So it's like I just literally just stopped watching TV. Everything cold turkey last year in the summer. And so basically my spiritual awakening happened about that. I started listening to this lady, Miss Faye's World. I'll put her channel, link her channel on here. I'm gonna give a few name shout outs. She started talking about narcissism, but she's a spiritualist. So a lot of things that I was thinking or kind of assumed, but I didn't know for sure, it started clicking. Especially looking at my past relationship with my ex. It's just like confirmed a lot of stuff that I was already kind of had a sense of. This was going on before Google and all this other stuff was going on. And I believe spirit, divine, whatever you want to call it, kind of start, okay, now you're ready, my child. You're ready, grasshopper. You got all the distractions. And I wasn't, at the time, I wasn't working. I was still working my own business, but, you know, not really seriously. And I was still kind of sort of looking for a job, but still was kind of like, should I? You know, I still wasn't unsure if I should continue to work full time because I still kind of had that ego. So I was like, started listening to Miss Faye. She talked about narcissism, love. It was like it kind of started putting some pieces together. And then the infamous Senji channel, started listening to this other lady who's a tarot reader. Mind you, I didn't know nothing about no tarot, didn't know nothing about, that was one of the things, and I was still kind of indoctrinated. So I guess in a sense, this awakening was about, this part of my awakening was getting me out of that, totally out of the indoctrination of religion. So I started listening to her. And it seemed like a lot of the things that she was saying, what's her name? I'll point her out too. New World Tarot. Cynthia G introduced me, not introduced me, but introduced, I was introduced to New World Tarot by Cynthia G. And I'm like, and the way she was explaining things, it was like, oh my God. It's like she literally was talking to me in a sense. And even when I had my question, because I was questioning stuff, I'm like, I was like, for example, binge watching a lot of her old videos. And I'm like, maybe these some old videos. Maybe she could be talking to anybody. And then it didn't seem like the next day, that evening or the next day, I watched the video of hers, and she was like, basically answered the question, like literally she was talking to me. Like, I know you out there, like when I was in the video, and she made this point, I know you out there, and you could be watching from the future, and it's like, my jaw just fell. And I continued watching her videos, and I was like, I really didn't hear her say that again. I didn't hear her say that again in her future videos, or at least the videos I watched onward until the present time, you know. I was like, oh my God. And it was like really somebody talking about my circumstances and what I'm going through. Just so, and then of course, and then it seemed like ever since then, these, you know, start watching more spiritual videos. And I think my spiritual awakening really happened. I forgot exactly. I'm not sure if I listened to this one person's channel too. And he don't consider himself spiritual, but he's into gematria. And that's when it really hit me. And I just kind of went through like a dark period, or they call it, I forgot what they call it, the dark of the soul or something, where it seemed like I feel like my favorite movie, Neo, in the Matrix, it just totally kind of like found out how things were and what things really were. And I guess I went through a really short period of depression. Like, now I ain't gonna say depression, like a mourning. Like, I was just mourning my old view of the world and coming into realization what the real world really is. Like, oh my God, this is not what it really is. I was crying, I was depressed. I just went through a mourning phase. And at the time I was still looking into, dating. I wasn't lonely. That's another thing I realized. And I didn't know that was part of being spiritual or whatever. I wasn't lonely. Like I said, I became a hermit. Not that, oh, she can't make friends or nothing like that. It's just, it was just a long period. Okay, I'm sorry about that. I forgot that I had an appointment, a phone call appointment. So I had to leave for a second, but I'm back, but I'm in my car where it's a lot cooler. Didn't realize how fast time went. But anyways, to finish up my story about my spiritual awakening, I think I last ended where I just kind of went through I guess they call it the dark of the soul, or I can't think of the name, but I will look that up and I'll add it in this video. So basically, I was just kind of went through a mourning phase about how I looked at the world before and how I looked at it now. And like I said, I love music and entertainment and things of that nature, but it got to a point where it just clearly opened my eyes, my spirituality, to a lot of things like I felt like I was just lied to most of my life. So I would say I'm not. Another thing about that too, and even right after, like I was still learning, and I definitely didn't know anything at that time as far as the spiritual world, as far as crystals. Like I mentioned earlier, my oldest daughter, she's 19. She just turned 19 this year. But she had an understanding about the spiritual world, but in my opinion, she still got a lot of growing to do and wisdom in order to basically hone in that practice to be more powerful, I guess, in it, and a lot of healing as well. But I didn't know nothing about crystals and how the earth, I just didn't know, and everything is just so clear. It's like my favorite movie, like I mentioned earlier, The Matrix. And right now, I'm more of a spiritualist. I do believe in using crystals for power, not power, but basically it is protection, for health, healing, positivity, whatever you can think of health and mind, body, spirit. And I do believe in guidance, whether guidance from the divine, guidance from, I guess, from your spiritual ancestors. I do believe that, because I feel like without me really knowing that basically I have been guided, been protected, and things of that nature. Because it's some situations that I've been in, it's like, oh my God, it could have really affected me, and or hurt, or I probably would have longer been on this earth. And things have happened even recently, that knowing that I'm on the right path, that I will go more into the next video. Immediately after this video, or probably within a week after this video that I'm gonna post, should be posted, I would say not today, but probably on Sunday, April the, I guess Sunday, April, it'll be Sunday, April the 14th. Yeah, so I will probably post it. This video you're watching is recorded on the 12th. I plan on posting it on Sunday, April the 14th. So the next video, I'm gonna talk about all the little, I would say the more interesting stuff that I experienced, ghost stories, paranormal stories, things that, you know, people probably have experienced, who's either medium, psychics, whatnot. And I have to write, now I'm getting all these phone calls, I wonder why. Anyways, all these different stories that I have to write them down so I won't miss one and be gonna be in all over the place in the next video. A lot of this started happening, as far as I remember, the earliest I remember, when I was probably 5 years old. So I will talk about those things and basically proving that, hey, it is a spiritual world. I'm not crazy or anything like that. Because some people are probably gonna be like, oh, she must be got some really serious mental health type of situation going on. She may be just crazy. She may be just trying to get some clout, whatever people can think of, that don't understand, don't want to learn, or whatever, don't want to still stay in that matrix in a sense. And honey, this last experience that I had from the time of this video recording, honestly, I thought I was literally about to go crazy, until I feel like my ancestors, or not my spirit divine, had to really tell me, no, you're not going crazy. And I have had dreams and things, pretty much kind of like warnings. But at the end of the day, I'm not scared. I'm not scared of, you know, death or anything like that. But yeah, that's pretty much my spiritual story right now. I'm a spiritualist. I don't believe in church. I believe that I can get the truths, what I need, through intuition, dreams. If you want to go visit, call Fashion Euphoria. But I'm gonna get ready to go, so please like, comment, subscribe, encourage me to keep making these videos. I feel like I'm doing the right thing. I feel like I was called to be on YouTube, so please, I appreciate that. Have a good day, and I will talk to you soon. Bye.